So as the record's on, welcome to another talk with me and Kay, questions and answers. And we have a few questions coming in. So if anyone's got any more questions, please write them down.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are we starting with, Kay?
Double linking.
Double linking.
Okay. So when you say double linking, are you referring to, I think I have a different view on double linking or a different definition for double linking. So I don't know who asked that question. Who was that? Rini. So Rini, when you say double linking, can you explain to me what you're saying? Do you mean having multiple communicators? Is that okay, double linking. Okay. So my double linking is a little bit different, but yeah. Multiple communicators. That's been a hot topic in Circle, Jason.
It's been topic in Circle. Well, yes. The thing is with double linking, what we want to do is we want to communicate from the spirit world, right? And when we bring in more than one communicator and we don't know we've got more than one communicator, that's when it starts to become one big mess. And that's not what it's not what the spirit world is looking for, but it's also not what we're looking for, right? Because we want to represent the spirit world as good as possible. Because when you expand your energy to connect to the spirit world, and you've got it like, you know, as wide as possible outwards, what you can think, you can pick up a little bit from here and a little bit from there and a little bit from here and a little bit from there. And that's what you call psychometry of spirit. So you'll be getting a little bit of this spirit and a little bit of that spirit and a little bit of this spirit, and they'll say, I don't know who you got. That sounds like you got a couple of people there, you know? But as a medium, if you're doing a double link, you should be aware, right? Okay, first, you know, you're aware of a gentleman, and you'll be giving some evidence about this gentleman. You'll be expressing how this gentleman was, and then you say, would you understand this gentleman? Yes. As I'm speaking, a lady's stepping forward, and I can feel her energy, but you would be aware of her in spirit as well. And you'll give some evidence about her, which would explain that she's there. Now, this isn't, you know, like, let's put it this way. I've got Dad here, and he's saying hi, and now I've got Mum here, and she's saying hi as well. That doesn't do it. You know, that's not enough evidence. So when you're double linking, you've got to be really careful that you blend truly with the spirit communicator, right? Because what you want to do is make sure that the essence of the spirit communicator comes through whoever you're speaking with. It's like if you're blending with the essence of Mum, you'll be like, oh, and you'll be feeling her vibrant, bubbly energy, and you'll be talking about that, and you'll be talking about all the things she liked and loved in life. And then you'll say, oh, but hold on, your dad wants to come in now, and I'm just feeling what he's saying. And as I blend with him, I know he was a man that used to like to work on cars. Now, this is not, I'm not actually doing a demonstration here. I'm just showing you what I mean. And it's being able to differentiate between the two different energies. Now, if another one comes up, that's something else, then you've got three energies, but it's just being able to really know with who you are. And it's okay to get like one or two pieces wrong. Like you might say, oh, you know, Mum was into kickboxing. You say, no, she wasn't. That was Dad. You know, so one or two things you can mix, but it has to become apparent that the spirit world want to communicate in the best possible way possible. So if you're getting like this, you're getting lots of information that can fit with two people, and then who you're giving the connection to, and they say, well, it sounds like you got two people there, or a mixture of three. then you've just expanded your aura up too much, and you may be doing psychometry with spirit and grasping at whatever comes in, instead of relaxing and just saying, okay, I feel the presence of two. They can arrive at the same time, can't they, Kay?
Yeah, they can. You can have a whole family come at once.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to understand and know the difference between the energies that are around you. So, you know, for me, I had to figure out a system that would work for me, and the way my brain works is what I had to do. So it worked out really well for me. And I don't know if it was my spirit team that did this for me because they know how I am. I don't know, but when it first started happening with me, how it always happened was I would have two people with very opposite personalities. So that made it a little bit easier for me to separate them. So or if it wasn't very different personalities, then I would have a man and I'd have a woman. Mm-hmm. So it became it was just easier for me to separate them because they were very different. And it just worked out that I would always have one on my right and one on my left. And as they would speak, I could feel that energy coming in from the right. So if it came in from the right, I knew I had the lady. If it came in on the left, I knew I had the man, or vice versa. So it just kind of worked out that way for me. And I liked that. I really did, because it helped me to graduate into having multiple communicators with very similar personalities and very similar characteristics, because I already had my system in place. So I knew that one would be on the left, one would be on the right. Then when they started bringing in more than two, then I would place them in different places around me. So, and I think I mentioned this in the circle. So I'll just repeat it again, that I did, before I really even started working as a medium, and really before I even started training as a medium, so this was before my mentorships, I would sit with the spirit world, my team and my family, and I would have them move around the room and move around me, and I would have to determine where they were and who it was. And it kind of just taught me how to understand energy and how the energy moves around me. And I was able to distinguish where they were, so that when I got ready to do double linking, it already knew how to understand I had more than one energy. Does that make sense? Because I'd been practicing by myself. It was the blind leading the blind in the beginning. But thank God I listened to my intuition, because I know that thought didn't come from me. I don't think it came from somebody else, or I don't know where it came from, but I just started doing it. And I think that played a big part of it for me to understand how I can determine that I've got multiple energies around me. Yeah. So that's what I did.
Yeah, for me it was different.
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah.
But I did have chats with the spirit world, or my team. I would have chats with them, especially after it started happening. When it started happening, then I got excited because I love working that way. I would have chats with them about, can we do it this way? Can we try it this way? Can how can we make this work? Because if you're standing in front of an audience, you don't have time to go, you go there, you go there, you go there, you go there. You don't have time to do that. It has to be orchestrated in some way. So I do give credit to my spirit team for helping me to figure out how to get that organized.
So for me, it was different. When I met Kay, I was getting triple links, and I didn't know I had 3. I thought I only had 2, which made it even more complicated. So for me, it was, and my tutor at that time Mavis, she said, it's because Spirit want you to work this way now.
Yeah.
You're ready to do that. And what it showed me was it was up to me to differentiate where the people were and how they were coming in. So it was up to me, the medium, to say, okay, I'm perceiving this on this side, perceiving this on this side, and this other information must be coming from someone else, right? But how it worked for me, I asked like, how do I sort this out? And for me, it was just the same as Kay, in the way that I would speak to Spirit and say, okay, we did do this the last time. It didn't quite work out. We got a bit mixed up. Next time we do this double linking or triple linking, let's bring it more coherent. Let's bring it more system into it, and let's have it people split up that I know they are going to work in this way. And after I did that, that's when the spirit world reacted to me speaking to them, and in that way. So I would have an assessment. Well, you know, most people have an assessment with themselves. They say afterwards, like, oh, I think that demonstration went well. And I'd have an assessment. I think that demonstration went well. And I'd say to Spirit, but could we try this next time, that it becomes a bit easier? Or could we do it in a way where I can understand it? Because the spirit world also, like what Kay said, they know your mind and they know how your mind works. So for Kay's mind, it was something that she would do at home, and I'm all for preparation. So I mean, if you can do this at home with your own loved ones, and you think, okay, I've got this. But I was analytical, so I'd be like, yeah, that's my loved one. That could just be my mind. So I just did it with the spirit people whenever I was demonstrating and whenever I was doing private sittings. And I'd say, I'd be speaking to Spirit, let's do it this time a little bit smoothly. And sometimes it would work, and sometimes I'd have to work it out. And sometimes it would be a mess, and it took a while. I mean, it took me about, in my way of doing it, it took me about 6 months, and it would be like, I would get, 50% really good, and then another 50% I'd have to work it out. And I think that's the thing to remember, that when you do communicate with Spirit, they react to you. They react to you, and they react to what you're saying, because there's nothing more that they want is to communicate their knowledge to their loved ones. And I always try to get myself out of the way to let that knowledge come through, and I think that's the main thing that they want to do. So they always want to help us. Mm-hmm. Some people say, oh, they've sent these extra people now to test you. I said, well, I don't think they have. I think they're doing their very utmost best to communicate, only sometimes because we've got ourselves expanded too much, and we're too eager, and we snatch at evidence, it can get a bit messy.
Yeah, but I feel them come in, so I know that they're blending. So you get to where you work with two side by side. You give them the same kind of good evidence. You're still moving into the energy. You're still moving into the evidence that they give you, so you can bounce back and forth. And I think it makes for a really good contact. Especially if you have, some of my favorites are when you have a husband and a wife, and their personalities come through, and you've got one that's more dominant than the other, and you can allow that personality to come through for the sitter. It just enhances the reading even more. So, if when Spirit is ready for you to work in that way, I would give it a go. Yeah. And see. I mean, they're not gonna bring you extra people until they know you're ready.
Yeah, and I think that's correct. You have to be ready before you start doing this, because if you're getting like a semi good one contact, and then you're going to get semi two good two contacts, then it's going to be everything's going to be a bit bittish. But if you can get a really good contact, like with one person, then you can get really good contact with two people. So it's like, husband and wife, they're very nice to bring through. You can bring two brothers through, you can bring more family members through, but it's just becoming very, very, very connected to whoever's speaking, whoever you're bringing through. And I think that's the main thing. But it can be the new step for some people in their mediumship, and it can be confusing if it's happening too early, or you're trying to do it before you're ready. You know.
Yeah, and I would just say too that another one of the like a clue for you, or is if you're working with somebody and it's all going well, you're getting the yes, 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 and then all of a sudden it's no, no, no. Sometimes that's because someone else has stepped in. So it's good to just do a quick check and see if if a new communicator has come in. You can even ask the recipient and just say, if you don't understand this information with this person, do you understand that with someone else in the spirit world? And a lot of times that's just a heads up, someone else is coming in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions on that? No? Have we totally confused you? No? Good. So we're ready to move on then?
Yep.
Yeah, good. All right. The next question was first person working with your spirit communicator through first person.
Oh, working in first persons. Yeah. It can be really good working in first persons because it creates the blending stronger. But you have to be careful that you don't go straight away as first person into the message. Like, you know, if you're bringing through mum and you say, well, I've got mum here and I'm coming to Kay, and she just wants to say, it's about time you tidied up your back room because you haven't done it for a while, and you need to pack these things out of your boxes, and you need to be doing all this. And like, you know, and Kay will be like, well, mum, I haven't got anything else to say apart from tidy up that room. And it's like,
can you do it for me?
Yeah, can you do it for me? So you see what happened. I went psychic. So I'm speaking first persons, but I went very quickly to the psychic. So anything first persons that you can say about how mum felt, what mum liked, and because you're in first person, you can feel she loved music. You can feel she loved to dance. You feel that she was a very vibrant person in her younger years. And in that way, you describe what she enjoyed. And I said, you can say, you could say, mum enjoyed cooking. And you can say, I know she enjoyed cooking. I see cooking, so I know she enjoyed it. And you're almost seeing it and doing it at the same time. So it's becoming first persons. When it gets to that time where when you're listening really quietly to spirit, that's when like you can hear and you can just relay what she's saying. So you can say, mum's talking about the things that that you did together. She's making me aware that through that you had some wonderful things together. And that's when you're actually, and then you may at that moment get the first person talking. So she said, and she used to say this to you. Mm-hmm. And she used to call you this name. That comes from getting the spirit communicator so close that you get into that first person's talking. Mm-hmm. But like I said, we do need to be careful that we don't go straight into a message like it, you know, mum's bringing you the roses, Kay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that probably the message at the end is when you go first person, it can become very powerful, especially I've done this before with men, when a father comes through and it's a father that never really showed emotion or never really said I love you or anything. I'll just end it with, I'll just lean over or look them in the eye and say, and your dad, I know your dad never ever said I love you, but he's here right now and he says I love you. And that's a great way to end it. If that's truly what Dad is saying, don't make it up. Yeah. But if that's truly what Dad is saying, that can be very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that can be very powerful. But at that point, you've got to be in total surrender to what the spirit world's saying.
Absolutely.
Does Dad want to say that? I mean, I've had dads that have said, well, you know, they had a difficult relationship with their children, and they'll say, that was the way he was, and you just had to accept him the way he was.
Yep. I've had the exact same thing. Where you know, as the medium, I'm like, come on, just tell him you love him, because I can feel it. I know you love him. And then they don't. They won't say it. And they were like, I wasn't that way. But then I've had the opposite, where the dad has regrets now that they're in the spirit world, and they're like, you know, making amends kind of thing.
Yeah. So speaking first persons can be very powerful, can be very good, but you really need to listen very closely and have them very close to you to know how they felt about their car, their watch, their clothes, their things, their life, and that's when you've got them really in that first person's mode.
But also, even communicating without words, if you bring them that close, that's when you start to mimic their body language. You might mimic a facial expression without even realizing it. You might start walking in the way that they're walking if you're on a stage. If they have, you know, funny little things that they do with their hands, you might start doing it. That brings in that, oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely have my loved one.
Absolutely. And, you know, we've had moments on stage where they've had us walking, they've had us talking, they've had us strutting the stage, they've had us doing all sorts of stuff because we've been in what you might call first person's mode.
Right.
But just being careful not to try and do it. It has to be totally just letting them do the work.
It's just when that blending becomes so strong that you can that sort of thing starts to happen. Yeah. Stephanie wants to know, how long are you able to maintain a close blend like that?
About 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And most contacts are like that. You got to think about it. It's like the spirit world make their time to do it, and it's like they'll make the contact, and the strongest evidence always comes in the beginning. And what do we do with the strongest evidence? A lot of us jump over it and say, can you take this? Can you take that? Can you take this? And then go on to more. But if you stay in that strong blend and you stay with that first bit, you can be about 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes. And then it will start, it normally starts to deteriorate after that. And that's when you go into the message around that time, normally.
If you're on platform.
If you're on platform. Oh yeah, but if you're private sitting, well, you know, 45 minutes. Yeah, it's possible. And but I wouldn't say go 45 minutes in first person, because again, after about half an hour, that's when in private sitting mode, when your energy starts to drop. And most people say in the beginning, start off with 20 minutes and then just go into the questions and answers,
mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
Because the pure mediumship begins in the first 20 minutes. And once you've been doing it for a while, it can go on for about half an hour. But after that, you're going to be going, there's going to be some psychic stuff coming in. There's going to be some other stuff coming in. And that's all part of the consultation anyway, you know?
Yeah. Any questions on that? No, you guys are quiet. It's early in the morning. All right. The next thing, the next question was, Latifu wants to know more about healing and how we prepare ourselves to be healers. So Jason, you do a lot of,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily do healing. My healing is based on need. If I know somebody that needs healing, then I do healing. But Jason, you actually work as a healer, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, with the healing aspect, it's like, it's surrender, right? When you're doing the healing, it's like you are the healer at the time, but really the spirit world is the healer, right? If you believe in God, it's God that's the healer. It's the divine energy that's the healer. You've got to be the most minimal connection that you can be. So you've got to be there, but not there. So the more that you can get yourself out of the way as a healer, the more that you can conduct a lot more energy, which doesn't have to go through the filters of your mind. So the more that your mind gets out of the way, the more that your mind is, let's say, when your mind goes on holiday, and you can just be in that moment of becoming one with the oneness of the energy that's coming through you. That's when healing can become, just a wonderful experience, and that's when it can become its highest frequency.
Mm-hmm.
When your mind is there, that's just another filter. So when you're healing and your mind comes in, it's another filter. Of course, it might be the period that you're in now with healing, but it will pass as long as you just say, okay, that's fine, just relax and go back into the healing. And yeah, preparing yourself, Latifu, I would say, meditate. Find out ways to close your mind, and try to relax your mind before you do your healing. It's like if you're running around sorting stuff out, cleaning, doing all these things, and then suddenly, right, okay, 10 minutes before you got to give someone a healing, you're going to sit down and give them a healing. Your mind's not going to be in the right space to give that healing, so you're going to need time to wind down. So it's good to meditate beforehand, sit in the power of that healing, and let the emanence of that power just flow through you before the person arrives. And then when the person arrives, you're firing all cylinders, and when they arrive, it's going to be really easy to go back into that space and bring the healing to the person that's there. Mm-hmm. And when you get to a point where your guides take over for healing, which is very, very possible, then it's like, again, surrender, right? It's surrender yourself to whatever the spirit world is doing and whatever they want to do at that moment in time. And I think that's the thing. And with good mediumship and good healing and good trance healing, it's surrender, because when you are there, then the mediumship is somewhere else. When you are not there, that's when the mediumship is working, and when the healing is working at its best, you know. Yeah. When you get your mind out the way, your abilities can enhance unbelievably. And yeah, healing, the highest frequency I've felt is when I come out of deep trance and the healing's taken place, and someone says, wow, that was amazing. I say, oh, was it good? Because I've been in that space where the energy can flow through. And at the end of the day, what takes place in healing, I don't get caught up in outcomes. I get caught up in possibilities. So I'm like, it's not like, oh, wow, look what I did. I did this. No, that's not what it's about. It's about, look what spirit did. Look what the divine energy did. Mm-hmm. And look what was possible. And because if you see yourself as a healer or a medium, as a scientist researching to see what is possible, that's when it gets exciting. And that's when it's when you're putting it where it should be, and say, oh, isn't it wonderful that spirit could bring that healing to that person, or isn't it wonderful that this could take place? But that all comes when you come back out of trance. Latifu, did that help you with your question?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I'm still at the level of doing more meditation, more sitting in the power. Yeah, because I do it once a day. So I think for me, it's important for me to embrace doing it twice a day. And
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, sitting in the power is really good to prepare you for healing. Yeah, yeah,
And being mediums, we all have the ability to be a healer. We
yeah.
all have that within us
Yeah.
to do healing. Yeah. Good. Pam wants to know, says, when you are healing, do you ever feel strong waves of energy go through you? Sometimes the energy is so strong that I sway back and forth.
So when I'm doing healing, I do feel strong waves of energy, and I have felt that moving backwards and forwards. And what that is, that movement going backwards and forwards, it's like if I'm looking that way, you're going backwards and forwards like this, so you're rocking. And what that is, that's when you're going down into a deeper state of awareness, because that movement is when you're going from the theta into a sort of delta state. You see, when you're in theta, you're moving side to side. You're moving side to side. That's when you're in theta. If I'm saying this wrong, just excuse me. It's not American theta, but anyway. But when you're in theta, you're going like this. When you're going between theta and delta, you're going like this. And when you're going down the alpha, you may find that you're going around in circles like this. And you say that's when you're going down. You say, oh, I feel like I'm spiraling. Those are just little signs that you can find out where you are. The surges of energy, you can feel waves coming through you. That's how it can feel, Pam. So it sounds very good. Sounds like your healing's in a good space at the moment.
Yeah. As you're saying that, I'm sitting, I've been rocking, but that's what happens when Jason knows. Well, you weren't supposed to do that, Kay. Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And that's also getting into what Kay's explained. That's getting into the power, because what we don't realize is that, like, even us as mediums, we can get almost into that theta when we're awake. So we're like swaying, moving into that space, into that awareness of spirit, and that's what the power does that we have inside of ourselves. So yeah.
And I just want to share just a quick story. I was at the Arthur Findlay College taking a class with Tony Stockwell, and I was we were working in small groups, and myself and another gentleman had to get up and work side by side together, do a link in together and bring somebody through. And I wasn't paying any attention, and neither was he. We were just giving evidence about who we had as our spirit communicator. And Tony came up and stopped and was watching us. And we finished, and somebody in the group said, they were just like moving in sync. Like, you know, we would go this way and then we would do this, and we were moving together, you know, like we were synchronized. And she asked Tony, she said, she says, that was just amazing to watch, because one would shift and then the other shifted with them, you know? And he said, yeah, he says, they're just moving with the energy. They're just moving with it and going deeper with it. So, yeah. I find myself, I rock when I start getting in my power. I start rocking. That's what I do.
And but everyone, it's like that's how the power moves you, right? And what Kay was explaining, that's how the power was moving them.
Yeah.
And it's like, how does the power move you? Like, you know, the power is your own soul, your own soul, but that's connected to, you know, everything. So it's that God consciousness, that divine that's flowing through you. How does it move you and your mediumship? And where does it bring you to? And that's just, by everyone, it's different.
Yeah. Okay, good questions, guys. Andrea wants to know, what would you do if you're bringing a spirit through and your sitter says, I don't want to hear from that person?
Yeah, you could say tough, because they're here, but that wouldn't be very nice. it has happened to me a few times. I mean, I did have a lady, well, I don't want to speak to that person. And really someone had come out of the spirit world just to apologize, and it was the family. And they said, but I don't want to speak to her. I want to speak to this person. And I said, could you just, because I was in mid-flow, I said, could you just wait? Because you can't just, this is not the place where you can order spirits, right? You know, I'm going to have that one, and then I'll have that one, and then I'll have that one. And can I have a pick and mix, please? I said, that's not what it is. It's like, and just explaining to her that this person needs to just fulfill what they've come to say, and then I can continue with someone else. And it's happened quite a few times to me where I've just said, look, I know you probably weren't thinking of this person, but they've just come to start the energy, and now someone else is stepping in, but you've got to let them, they've come all that way to give that message. And I explained it to one lady, and I said to her, they've come all this way to make the effort. All we need to do is listen, you know. And then I will certainly get round to bringing more people through. Don't you worry. But I've had it happen in a demonstration, and the lady said, I don't want to speak to her. She was horrible. I said, I'm sorry, but she's here. And I said, well, you know, and it was quite, because I was just in the beginning of my mediumship, and I was very honest. She said, well, has she come to say sorry then? I said, no. Okay, so I had to send her back and get the next one, because that's what you have to do. If you get into that awkward situation, just say, it's okay, just give me a minute, breathe. And if they've finished what they've got to communicate, the lady I was bringing through in that demonstration from the spirit world, I wouldn't have wanted to get in her way. She was quite a character from the spirit world. So I just said to her, look, thanks, nice that you were here, but I need to move on. So I treat the spirit world just as politely as I treat people here. And I do try to educate people, also sitters, into, you know, what is possible and what's not possible. But sitters that I've had to move from one spirit to the next day, well, hold on a minute, what would this spirit like to say? This, and this. Okay, now we're moving on, and I shall connect to someone else for you.
Yeah, and the same for me. I've had people come through that they just don't want to talk to that person. Not that that person is bad or anything. They're wanting one specific person, and you have to kind of handle it the way Jason was saying. You know, says, I understand that, but you know, I have to do what the spirit wants. But I've also had spirit communicators come through who were abusive to the recipient, and the recipient does not want to speak to them because it's a trigger. And so you have to just, you know, for me, I just acknowledge it. And I said, I understand, but just be aware that he is here. And when you're ready, maybe, you know, he can come back when you're ready, because they both have to be ready in order for that healing to take place. Because it's just, you know, it could be that it's the person who did the abusing. It's them coming through saying, I'm ready to try to heal and move beyond this. But if your recipient's not ready, they're not ready.
Yeah.
You can't force that. And so you do, just like Jason said, you have to treat the spirit world with kindness and respect. No matter what they've done in life, you still have to do that, and send them, just to ask them to please step back and let someone else come through.
I had a student that had a father that was like that, and she said, I don't want to speak to him, but she just started with me 3 years ago, and for 3 years long the father came through every student that was there. So she kept hearing it and hearing it and hearing it, and then it was like, okay, in the first year she couldn't handle it, and towards the end, and she spoke to me, why? I said, obviously he wants to help you in some way. And it wasn't after a while. And now she's really happy to have a contact from him because she's moved on.
Yeah.
But she was certainly not happy in the beginning. And it took a lot of coaching from me, and it's okay, just, you know, bear with it. There was a lot of tears, but you see how she grew the moment that that healing could take place, you know?
Right. Good.
Yeah.
Sue, yes, possible, yep. Does the mindset of the medium and or clients based on experience, culture, religion influence the kind of spirits that are contactable?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I remember speaking to someone that they were so happy. I don't know where they were, in Norway or somewhere like that. And they were doing a demonstration, and they've got this guy and he's got a red barn. And all the Norway people looked at him and said, yeah, but everyone's got a red barn. That's normal in Norway. So what culture is like, you know, what we think's normal, like in England, normal is drinking tea, right? So if you're drinking tea, that's normal. So we'll be talking about drinking tea. In Holland, it would be more drinking coffee. And in America, I believe it will be drinking coffee as well. So it's like you can say, oh, I can just, and so you'd be working with Americans and you'd be working, oh, I can see you just drinking tea. And I said, no, we didn't drink tea, we drank coffee. So it's like, that's where your mind, because of your culture, can get mixed up with your ideas. So, you know, because spirit can only communicate what you already know. So like if I was on my island in England and I was like, you know, and there was all these tea and china cups, I could really talk for ages about all these tea and china cups. But I couldn't talk about these really massive, great big mugs that they had in America because I hadn't experienced them, right? So, you know, she used to like to drink her tea, but she drank it in a bucket. It looks like a bucket to me, right? So that's some people do, right? And they're like, oh my God. And that's how they drank their coffee, right? It looks like a soup bowl, but it wasn't. It was a teacup that you need to hold with two hands. But anyway, that is a sort of evidence that you think, okay, that's where culture comes in. And as for religious points of view, because I as a medium was brought up religious, I have an affinity with that. So when I feel someone with a strong belief, it becomes a knowing, right? It becomes a knowing. And but someone that doesn't, and I know David, it was like David has worked with us, and he doesn't. He was an atheist, so he doesn't tend to get that many people that are spiritual. He did once, and what he had to say was, well, I know this person used to go to church, not that I would. And so that's where you can see the mindset of the medium, the expression of what spirit wants to say cannot express itself fully through the mind of the medium if they haven't had those experiences, you see. And so that's where these certain cultures and religions can influence our contact, and it's our own mind until we open up to the mind of possibilities. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, why can't you have a karate fighting ballerina come in? You know, it's possible. I've actually met someone in this life that did that. It's possible, but the reason is because our mind and our culture and the way that we don't understand that. And another thing I've had, I used to be a very good cook. So because I know a lot about cooking, I've experienced a lot of cultures of cooking, a lot of different things. But whenever I get into the Eastern cultures and I've seen them cooking in all these earthen pots and all this, and I think it's amazing. It's like a 3-day ceremony that's going on here. And I love cooking, so I love to investigate what they've got in there. Then I can only get that because I've had that experience in my life, you see. And that's something to remember. The stuff that you know in your personality, in who you are, and what you've learned, that's how spirit can work with you. But we never used to know what a diffuser was here in because you guys have got diffusers right in America, haven't you? We didn't know what a diffuser. I thought it was a fuse box. So I would have never have got the diffuser because a diffuser came out in America before it came out over here. So I would have thought a diffuser is a fuse box because you think, what are you doing? You're defusing stuff, right? And it's just how your mind thinks. So you are limited to your culture, your religion, where you've been brought up, and your experiences. but when there is a possibility to step out of that, when you say, okay, now I want to try something else, now I'm opening up to let spirit bring something I don't know, I don't mind getting it wrong, you know.
Yeah. You know, me living abroad, I ran into that a lot when I was working. I mean even when I lived in England, sort of speak the same language as me, but it's sort of. And so the culture was similar but different. The words were similar but different. And I would get images, and I'd get evidence, and I would give it as I know it in America, and I would get laughing in the audience because I didn't use the word in the right way. And the word was, you know, I told a lovely lady one day that her mother loved to pedal in the garden, and they thought that she was taking a wee in the garden. Everybody was laughing, and I'm like, you know, pedal. She liked to play. She had her flowers, and she loved working and pedaling in the flower bed, and I was just going on, and they're all laughing, and she's like going,
pedal around in the garden.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And you know, thank goodness I knew her, because she worked at the church right by my house, and anyway, she still doesn't let me forget that her mother loves to piddle in the garden. So you have to just kind of, it's just different.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that I would come across, and I'd be going, dang, I thought I knew English. And I thought I understood. I lived there for 11 years. I should know by now. And every day I was learning something new about how it was different than it was in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when you go to a different country and you work there, like I went to Finland, and I looked through a book about Finland, and I was looking up, and I saw, oh, it's a culture, and I was looking at in that book were about that there was certain. I saw a log cabin, but I saw a man standing outside a log cabin. They're saying this is the costume of how the old costumes that they used to have only worn in the north of Finland. I thought, oh, that's interesting, and I carried on reading through it, and the demonstration 2 days later, I brought through a father, and I said, I know he had a log cabin, and he used to live in the north of Finland because he's shown me he used to wear the traditional clothes. Everything was correct. I never would have got that if I hadn't have picked up that book, right? I would have probably got, there's something to do with traditional clothes here, and I'm seeing a log cabin, but I would never have got north of Finland, right? So how do you receive the information is to open up to possibilities, right? Mm-hmm. And another thing about mindset as mediums, like when I was taught mediumship, we were supposed to get a list. So we're supposed to get a list like, right, we're going to get this. If you can get about 10 bits of information, and then you got to give that 10 bits of information, that was the way of working back then. Since then, mediumship has changed. But if you've been taught the list way, you tend to say, oh, well, that's not good evidence because I didn't get all the list of things I wanted, like father, relationship, how they passed, what are their hobbies, all that sort of thing. The list is okay to start with, to see, okay, what sort of evidence can you get? But we're still restricting spirit how they can bring the information in. So it's when you open up, say, right, come on, spirit, let's do something new. Let's bring through new information in a new and wonderful way, and I'm open to it. Let's not work the way the list normally works. And when you do that, you open up to possibilities. And that's when you can, you may not see the relationship straight away. So you may see a man with a racing feet and a racing bike, and you'll be like, oh, I know he used to cycle. And I said, he's showing me the cycling. I'm seeing also a number here on him, so I know he must have cycled for competitions. It doesn't feel professional. It feels semi-professional. And you still haven't got the relationship. And you're just saying, okay, but I do feel with him, and you may be aware of then the condition. And then you'll feel I might be over here on this part of the hall. And in that way, they're working with you in a different way. And it's outside, I must say, it's outside of your comfort zone, and you're not working with the original list. I remember one time I had a sort of music box like this. I said, I've got a lady here, and I know when she passed, she's left a music box, and someone in the audience has got that music box, and they're here. And they all went, the whole audience, 100 people. And I'm like, well, I'll just wait as long as you do, because I know I've got this music box. I know someone must understand it. So, you know, I've got all night. And then one lady put her hand up. I do recognize it. I said, okay. And I said, well, you would understand that you would have that music box. Yes. But it doesn't sound like it's good music. It sounds like it's drumming. She said, yes, it is drumming. That's why I didn't put my hand up, because I said music box, not drumming box. And in their culture, they call it a drummer or something. Anyway, so and that's what it is. Because I was saying music box, but I was doing this with my hands. So it's like, become aware of what you're doing and how the information's coming in. You know?
Yeah.
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 Good questions.
Yeah. Very good.
No problem, Michelle.
Yeah, welcome, Michelle.
Yeah, no problem. Good. Any other questions before we wrap it up? Michelle would like to know, what have we been talking about?
Oh, well, loads of stuff.
So just, you know, for you to know, Michelle, if you want to go back and watch it when I get it posted, we've talked about double linking with multiple communicators, working in first person with your spirit communicator, healing, and then how experience, culture, religion can influence your work.
Yeah. And mindset.
Yeah.
Mindset. Yeah.
I'll share another story. I was working with a girl who was Native American Indian, full blood, and she asked me to bring through and work with her guides. So it was like a soul reading, and I'm sitting there, and for me, I can tell that the energy of a Native American is different than energies of other people, and I knew I was going to have Native American people in the family, but I didn't know about her guides or anything. And I'm sitting there and I start working with them, and I'm looking and I'm like, Native, Catholic nun? And it was so out of the ordinary. And I went, you got a Catholic nun that works with you? And she starts laughing and she goes, yeah, I do have a Catholic nun, because she's a big healer, you know. But it was so funny because it was like, that is so different. I mean, but because at first I was like, what am I seeing things? I mean, it was funny, interesting working with her, because it was just Indian Catholic nun. Wasn't that interesting? So you just have to be open to whatever. Because I never would have thought she'd have a Catholic nun. She wasn't Catholic. Her father was a preacher, but Presbyterian. So
just shows your possibilities, right? If you're not in your mind, you just give what you get. I mean, that's the thing. Just give what you get with your mediumship. And don't try and analyze it, you know, because that'll just bring it into your mind. But yeah, Kay, we're coming to the end of this one, but we're going to be meeting again on Saturday.
Oh, Spirit's calling, Jason. Yeah, we have our workshop on Saturday from 12 o'clock Eastern time to 3 o'clock. What is that, 6 to 9 for you, Jason? And that's on deepening the connection with the spirit world, if anybody's interested.
It's strengthening the connection with the spirit worlds.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then circle on Friday, if anybody wants to come. That's 11 Eastern time.
Yeah.
All right.
So it should be good. Saturday should be good. It's going to be a good one. For the
Yep.
people that were at the last one, that was good. And we've got more in the future that we're planning. So look forward to seeing you there. Yeah, it is a workshop. So if you do come on Saturday, expect to be worked.
You do work.
We do work. We don't
right,
just talk.
Latifu. Do work.
Yeah.
You'll be tired when you're done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you for everyone for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.